So I want to talk just a little bit about our Black community or African American community in Weaverville. Uh, I'm Norma Jean, and I was born in 1962. So in 1963, the Buncombe County Schools began limited desegregation of grades 1 through 3. And this allowed African Americans' family to apply for their children to go to the white schools. And the following year, grades, so 1 through 6, 1 through 4, 1 through 3 were allowed after an application was applied for. And then the following year, grades 4 through 6 were given the option. And it was hoped that the method known as the freedom of choice would satisfy the Supreme Court decision, the Brown versus Brown, and it forestalled the wholesale of integrations of Blacks in white schools. There were 150 Black students in a system of 20,000 in Buncombe County, with only grades 1 through 8. So with that little bit of history, I want to go to our community center on Hillside Street. It was known as Weaverville Colored School. My parents, my grandparents, their relatives all went to that school on Hillside Street. And it was known as Weaverville Colored School. And it was then consolidated with schools and people who lived in Barnardsville, Alexander, Flat Creek area. It was a one-room school and was expanded to 2 rooms with a heated stove for the 2, and it was divided. It was taught for grades 1 through 4 was Amanda Horn, and Miss Monty Flack Jones was grades 4 through 8. If you go down Monticello to the Alexander area, there is a Monty Jones Road, which is named after Miss Monty Jones. That's where she lived. And it was, as I said, was a 2-pot belly stove used for coal. As a little girl growing up, and my sister and all our cousins, we just knew that as a schoolhouse. We really didn't know the background history until we got old enough and older to realize that this was a historical place. And in 1961, the school board sold the Weaverville Colored School to the town of Weaverville. But we always have used it as our schoolhouse, as our community, as a place to meet for reunions every year. We have probably 4 in the summer. If you go down Hillside, you may see us cooking, grilling. We sold barbecue for the town of Weaverville for about 30 some years, retired and then came back. And but the school itself, the community center itself, was not in the original place that it is now. It was actually at the bottom of Hillside. And when they started building Rims Creek, they moved that building up the hill on logs to where its present place is now. And some of the families that have lived in Weaverville are the Whitesides, the Coons, the Westons, the Allens, the Bernards, the Carson, the Cowens, which was my dad, Daniel Cowen and Carrie Cowen, the Clarks, the Chambers, the Vance, the Roberts, and the Weavers. And as I said, the school at one time was located at the bottom of Hillside. Miss Monty Jones would take her students to our church, that is Little Mount Zion, that's right above the school or the community center, which is now probably about 103 years old, 104, somewhere in there, 112, 1913. And it wasn't the original Black church that was in Weaverville. There were actually 2 churches, and they had been moved. But she would take the students to funerals up at the church, and they would sit in the back, and she would go and play the piano for the service. So again, the church had been moved and had been located now in its present position on Hillside Street. Now, the families that grew up and lived here in Weaverville has a long history of family reunions, starting in probably June, July, August, and September. The Raid, the Bears, the Flacks are all part of the reunion. Labor Day. We have cemeteries that are located at Rims Creek, down on, it used to be St. Peter's, which is down on Monticello. There's Barnardsville, which Geraldine and J.T. Ray are currently buried. Their daughter, Dottie, is sitting here. Geraldine was quite a historian if you ever met Geraldine Ray, and some of these notes come from her that we still have as history. And as one note that I want to say as far as our family has always stuck together here in Weaverville, and mainly we all resided on Hillside Street and on East Street. My brother, Michael Cowen, and his cousin, Robbie Weston, were the first Black students to enter Weaverville Primary School in the 3rd grade. And I always tease him and call him Ruby Bridges. But we have a strong relationship with our pastor, Dr. Lewis Grant, who is here today. He's been our pastor since I can remember 1974, and then again in 1988, and just a strong leader, and continue to be a provider for our community to this day, even though our members are low in numbers because they have either moved or passed away. But our church, our community is one that we cherish. If one is in need, we're all there. The community, we're there. We've been open since the hurricane in our little community center on Hillside Street. And so right now it is being renovated. A new roof is being put on, and we're at 30 Alabama. But I can say, with my dad and my parents, I remember growing up, my dad was actually assistant fire chief of Weaverville, something that was unknown in the early 70s, along with Jim Penley. He worked for the telephone company as long as with Dottie's dad, JT, and some other of our cousins. We are born of several service-oriented people. We have teachers, we have doctors, we have nurses, and we have firemen and police officers. So we stand in pride of our family and our community. And I just want to say that we love Weaverville. Weaverville has always been our home. We've never had to ask for anything, because if there was anything ever needed, we provided. Going back to the history of the community center, we bought the community center with our money raised within so many days from the town of Weaverville, and in order to keep it. We bought the land in between the church and the community center, and we want to provide a park and parking for everyone in Weaverville, not just for our community, but for our family and friends in Weaverville. But I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight and listening to the brief history. I know there have been pictures here in the museum, and a lot of our historians have passed away, but we're trying to pass it on for generation to generation. Thank you.